Welcome back, everyone. Today, I want to share with you something that I just found out about. I don't know how I missed this before, but I heard about what is called the Abrahamic Family House. And basically, what this is a way to bring all of the three major religions of the world, Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, specifically Catholicism, in together and kind of live in this cooperative, tolerant environment. And I just thought this was interesting as I read some things about it. I started getting ramped up, right? Because I see prophecy in this, and I see our woke culture in this. I see so many things that are happening in our society today, and this is like putting it right out there and saying, this is what our society is like. So I want to share this with you. If you've never heard of this before, I am actually going to right now look at a website here. This is about something that's happening in the United Arab Emirates. And let me get the right thing up here for you. So this is for humanfraternity.org. Okay, this talks about this house or this building. It's not one house, it's a series of 4 buildings actually that they're going to set up. And it's called the Abrahamic Family House. And I hope you can see this if you're on a small screen, but you can find this stuff on the web internet if you want. So it says here, the Abrahamic Family House will be a beacon of mutual understanding, harmonious coexistence, and peace among people of faith and goodwill. It will consist of a mosque, church, synagogue, and education center to be built on Saidiyat Island, the cultural heart of Abu Dhabi in United Arab Emirates. So the idea is you're going to have these 3 houses plus 1 extra building, and there's going to be one for each of the 3 major religions in the world. The vision for the Abrahamic Family House originated after the signing of the document on human fraternity by Pope Francis and Grand Imam Ahmed Al-Tayeb in February of 2019. So I just want to stop there. We're going to come back to this in a minute. But I wanted to look at this. What is this document on human fraternity that the Pope and this Grand Imam signed in February of 2019? Well, it just so happens that that's not the one I want to find. I want to look at this document. I actually put it on a PDF for you to see because I wanted to highlight a few things that I thought might help with this. Here's this thing. What happened was you had the Pope and this Imam got together and they discussed a lot of issues in the world, and they came up with this idea of fraternity. Let's make sure that we are all getting together, okay? So I highlighted a few things here for this, and I apologize if this video is a little longer. I don't know how long it'll be, but I think this is important. So here's their document. Faith leads a believer to see in the other a brother or sister to be supported and loved. So now we're all brothers and sisters, right? Not through Christ, but just because we're all humans. Through faith in God, believers are called to express this human fraternity. Faith in God. My question is, which God? Because the God of Catholicism and the God of Islam are not the same. They're not the same God because our God has a son, Jesus. Their God does not have a son. And so we're not even talking about the same God here. So I have a hard time with this. And I'd love to read all this to you and try to just pick it apart. And there are some good things in this whole document too, and it talks about life and it talks about against abortion. There's some good things. There's some things that will help us understand what's going on here. The second paragraph, this transcendental value, that is the idea we're supposed to be safeguarding creation and getting along and all that. This transcendental value served as a starting point for several meetings characterized by a friendly and fraternal atmosphere where we shared the joys, sorrows, and problems of our contemporary world. And we do have a lot of joys, sorrows, and problems, right? Look at this last paragraph here, or last line in the middle of your screen there. We reflected also on the level of poverty, conflict, and suffering of so many brothers and sisters in different parts of the world as a consequence of the arms race, social injustice. I knew it wouldn't take long to get to being woke. Corruption, inequality, moral decline, terrorism, discrimination, extremism, and many other causes. So yeah, we're just going to make sure we bring our social injustice in there too, right? Because that's got to show up on everything nowadays. And so down here at the bottom of this next paragraph, this is a document that invites all persons who have faith in God and faith in human fraternity to unite and work together so that it may serve as a guide for future generations to advance a culture of mutual respect in the awareness of the great divine grace that makes all human beings brothers and sisters. Now, this does not sound like Christianity to me. We're all brothers and sisters. It doesn't matter what you believe. You can believe anything else. You can believe in a different God, but we're all brothers and sisters because we have religion, right? We have some kind of religion. And so he skips down here and it just, talks about in the name of this and that, we're doing all this. And for sake of time, I'm not going to read it all, but these highlighted ones I do want to read. In the name of justice and mercy, the foundations of prosperity and the cornerstone of faith. So this is this grand imam and it's the Pope, the Pope coming together and saying that the cornerstone of faith is justice and mercy. Now, the problem that I have here with this is, in a sense, I guess we could say that's true because it's the way I understand the cornerstone of faith. My faith is, it's in a lot of things, a lot of reasons I have it, but the cornerstone of salvation is that we sinned and God hates our sin and God has to punish us for our sin. But the mercy side of that is that he paid for it himself through Jesus Christ. Now, what mercy is there in Islam? If there is any mercy, it's not the same as the Christian or the Catholic view of mercy, because for us, it comes through the sacrifice of Jesus. Through Islam, it doesn't. And so how can you get together and you say justice and mercy without throwing out things that you believe, without jettisoning some of your core beliefs? I don't think you can do that. A little further here, it says, in the name of God and everything stated thus far, Al-Azhar and Al-Sharif and the Muslims of the East and West, together with the Catholic Church and the Catholics of the East and West, declare the adoption of a culture of dialogue as the path. We can talk about things, right? Mutual cooperation as a code of conduct, reciprocal understanding as the method and standard. So we just got to understand each other. In a way, we do have to understand each other, but we can't set aside the things that are true, okay? Now, I just want to point this out. People often bring Christianity and Catholicism in together. Now, Catholicism does fall under the overall branch of Christianity, but as a Christian, I do not subscribe to Catholicism. The Pope does not speak for me, but for much of the world, he does. He speaks for Christianity in general. So it says, we who believe in God and in the final meeting with him and his judgment, on the basis of our religious and moral responsibility, we put this document together, to do all these things. But it says we're going to finally meet with him, yes, and be judged by him. Okay, yes, we will. We'll be judged ultimately on whether we receive Jesus or not, but the Muslims wouldn't believe that. But it says here that we're going to be judged on the basis of our religious and moral responsibility. What is our religious and moral responsibility? Our religious, what for us, ultimately, we're going to be judged on our belief in Jesus Christ. Well, the Muslims can't say that. And so this is really, it's kind of religious gobbledygook. You can believe what you want to believe. We'll believe what we want to believe. And all together in the end, it's going to work out. Well, folks, it's not that way. It can't be that way. Our religions are mutually exclusive. You cannot have all three of these major religions living together and saying, well, you're okay and I'm okay. We're all right. No, somebody's wrong. So it says here, to work strenuously to spread the culture of tolerance and of living together in peace. Tolerance. You see that come up a lot. We have to tolerate each other, which, yes, we do. Yes, we do. But that automatically means that somebody's wrong. If I tolerate you, it means that you're wrong, right? So this declaration believes firmly that among the most important causes of the crises of the modern world are a desensitized human conscience, etc., and so forth. So the main problem with our society is a desensitized human conscience. How about a fallen human nature? How's that? That's what the Bible teaches. It's a fallen human nature. That is the problem that we have in our society. Oh, there's so much good stuff here. Let's skip down. We see, in addition, other regions preparing to become theaters of new conflicts with outbreaks of tension and a buildup of arms and ammunition, and all this in a global context overshadowed by uncertainty, disillusionment, fear of the future, and controlled by narrow-minded economic interests. I wonder what they mean by that. It sounds a lot to me like the Great Reset, even though this came out. I think this was 2019. This is really before the Great Reset. The whole ESG, making sure that it's not about your personal finances. Everything is about how you fit in with the community as a whole. The shareholder thing. Look that up. It's fascinating. But it kind of seems like it's coming through in this religious document here. We likewise affirm that major political crises, situations of injustice, and lack of equitable distribution of natural resources, which only a rich minority benefit from to the detriment of the majority of the peoples of the earth, have generated and continue to generate vast numbers of poor, infirm, and deceased persons. So in other words, here's our wokeness again, right? Lack of equity. It's the rich people, the bad rich people. They shouldn't be living like that. The first and foremost aim of religions is to believe in God, to honor him, and to invite all men and women to believe that this universe depends on a God who governed it. Okay, yeah, we're supposed to believe God, but how? We're supposed to believe in him through Jesus, and we can't put that in this document because we got the Jews and the Muslims in on it too, right? Indeed, everyone must safeguard this gift of life. Talks about how important life is, and I agree with that in this document. Everyone must safeguard this gift of life from its beginning up to its natural end. We therefore condemn all those practices that are a threat to life, such as genocide, acts of terrorism, forced displacement, human organ trafficking, abortion, and euthanasia. We likewise condemn the policies that promote these practices. Now, wait a minute here. Did I not read that just recently the Pope told President Joe Biden, that he could have communion in the Catholic Church? Oh, wait a minute. He is a staunch proponent of abortion. Well, I would think that maybe the Pope would say, no, look, until you get this thing straight, you can't join in fellowship with us, right? So I don't know, is he speaking out two sides of his mouth here or what? Moreover, we resolutely declare that religions must never incite war, hateful attitudes, hostility and extremism, nor must they incite violence or the shedding of blood. Now, wait a minute here. The Muslims are on board with this. How is it? Now, this whole thing is supposed to be for the three major religions, but this document was put together primarily by the two, Islam and Christianity or Catholicism, which happen to be the two religions that are responsible for a lot of wars. I mean, you ever heard of the Crusades? What about the Islam taking over of so many countries by war? And they're going to say, oh, we don't believe that there should be war. I agree with that. But how about if we actually say what we believe, right? Oh, moving on. The firm conviction that authentic teachings, these are what this document upholds, okay? The firm conviction that authentic teachings of religions invite us to remain rooted in the values of peace. So that's what it's all about, peace, right? Peace with each other, or is it peace with God? What's it supposed to be? Therefore, the fact that people are forced to adhere to a certain religion or culture must be rejected as to the imposition of a cultural way of life that others do not accept. People are forced to adhere to a certain religion. I'm going to show you some things here in a minute where the United Arab Emirates, where they're building this house of Abraham, is Islam is part of their constitution. It's their actual religion. There's some persecution or some subduing anyway of people who might want to become a Christian or something like that. So I'm not so sure that they're really acting out what they say. Dialogue, understanding, and the widespread promotion of a culture of tolerance. That's what they want. Dialogue, understanding, and a widespread promotion of a culture of tolerance. Let's tolerate each other. And this document goes on and on. Let me see. Okay, just at the end of it, I want to read this. This declaration may be a sign of the closeness between the East and West, between North and South, and between all who believe that God has created us to understand one another, cooperate with one another, and live as brothers and sisters who love one another. Brothers and sisters, huh? In what way? Not religious, that's for sure. This is what we hope and seek to achieve with the aim of finding a universal peace that all can enjoy in this life. A utopia. Utopian religious peace. Everyone's going to get along. We're just going to be able to worship God however we want and go on. But we see every time that we start talking about freedom, religious freedom, it doesn't turn out to be that way. It's all talk. You can believe whatever you want. And we see this even in America. You can believe whatever you want to believe, just don't act on it. That is not religious freedom. So that is that document. Before we actually go back and look at the one about the house, I want to look at a couple of other websites here with you really quickly. And this is actually from the United Arab Emirates. This is their website. Coexistence, tolerance, peace, our inherent values, and living reality. So it just talks in here about the United Arab Emirates and how great they are. I want to read this one right here. UAE is an incubator of the values of tolerance, peace, security, and multiculturalism, wow, with more than 200 nationalities enjoying decent life and respect. Accordingly, the laws of UAE guarantee justice, respect, and equality. Besides, it incriminated hatred, fanaticism, and causes of division and difference. So, hey, yeah, we believe what you want here, okay? Down here, this middle paragraph here. UAE incubates several churches and temples that allow individuals to practice their religious rights. Moreover, UAE has several international initiatives that instill the world's security and peace and achieve, decent living for all. So, according to their word, they have a lot of tolerance. As a matter of fact, right here, they renamed a mosque to something that in Arabic means for Mary, the mother of Jesus, peace be upon them. They're trying to show that, hey, we like Mary too. Mary's all right. Jesus, he was a good prophet and everything. But, that's not what Christians believe. But then here's this article in the Washington Post. The Washington Post. So, this isn't your Baptist journal or anything here, okay? The headline, this is from, I believe it was 2019. 5 things to know about religious freedom in the United Arab Emirates. It talks about the Pope visiting there and doing mass for 180,000 people. So they had that whole thing going on. As a result of the approximately 9.1 million people who live in the UAE, only 11% are citizens. Why? Because it says up here, the vast majority of nations' residents are non-citizens. They practice various religions. And I don't want to read this whole thing, but you have to be born into the citizenship of the UAE in order to be a citizen there. Let me keep going. There is no mechanism for naturalization, meaning all citizens are native born. 2005 census found that all residents, including non-citizens, 76% are Muslim and 9% are Christians. And there's a few percentage, some other things. So here it is. The Constitution enshrines Islam as the official religion of the state, and there are laws against blasphemy, proselytizing by non-Muslims, and converting from Islam. Okay, so you can believe in Christianity if you want. We're all going to get along, but you can't act on it. You can't try to convert anybody. Oh, that's like the fundamental part of Christianity. We anyway, not the Catholics, but we are evangelistic. That's the idea. We're supposed to be trying to get people into our so-called religion. That's the core. And in the United Arab Emirates, yeah, you can believe it, but probably that's all. Just believe it. That's fine. You can believe, you can worship as you want. By the way, that's exactly the direction the United States is going. You can believe whatever you want. Just don't act on it, especially if it doesn't go along with woke or LGBT culture. Okay, according to a 2017 U.S. State Department report on religious freedom in the UAE, individuals belonging to non-Islamic faiths said they could worship in private without government interference, but faced restrictions on practicing their religion in public. And so there you go. You can believe it. You can't do anything about it. Look down here. Laws exist that forbid the building of bell towers and displaying symbols such as crosses on roofs, even though they're not strictly enforced, but they could be. So, you say, okay, how tolerant are the people over there in the United Arab Emirates? Maybe not quite as tolerant as it looks like. So now let's go back to our document here where they're talking about this place that this Abrahamic Family House that they're going to build. Okay. So it came out of that document that the Pope and this Grand Imam put together. It's going to be a place for learning, dialogue, and worship, open to all and a true reflection of the UAE's belief in tolerance and hospitality. Within each of the houses of worship, visitors will have the opportunity to learn about religious services, listen to Holy Scripture, and experience sacred rituals. And it goes on and on. So then it talks, and by the way, there's, kind of a picture of what it's going to be like. 3 big buildings that are same size, just look a little bit different. And then a 4th one, like a community center type of a thing, okay? And the architectural design of each building is important. It's supposed to somehow share what that is all about. So the first one is going to be a mosque honoring tradition and celebrating communal gatherings. So one is going to be a mosque. You can go in there and do your Islamic stuff. And then there's going to be a church, which is kind of a broad thing, a church, Obviously, I don't know if it's a Catholic church or what. They're going to have a water element outside of it, So it's there it is right there. That's kind of the drawing of it. And the inside, you can have a cross inside. You just can't have a cross on the outside. Go inside and practice your religion, but don't share it with anybody on the outside. That, my friends, is not Christianity. And then the synagogue, too. The Jews get to be part of this, too. So why are they calling this thing that the Abrahamic house, or let me go back up here again and make sure I get this right. The Abrahamic Family House is because all of the three major religions of the world point back to Abraham, right? Judaism obviously came from Abraham. Abraham's son Isaac, his son Jacob was renamed Israel. And so Judaism comes from that, and Christianity stems from Judaism. And so that we look back to Abraham, and the Muslims also, because they look back to Ishmael, who was a son of Abraham. And so everybody's looking back to Abraham. So we're all of us as Abraham's children. Father Abraham had many sons, right? We're all going to get together. We're going to be able to worship as we want, as long as you don't tell anybody about it. As long as you don't try to convince somebody from one of the other houses, that's what they believe. So we're going to try to bring all the religions of the world together in unity. But I wonder, is this even possible? Is it possible? And I don't think it is. How can you be unified with people who believe totally different than you do? Because, like I said, they are mutually exclusive. We believe that salvation and getting right with God only comes through Jesus Christ. Judaism doesn't believe that, and Islam doesn't believe that. And without that, we have nothing. So, and we can get along. We can live with people. I believe God has given us a choice. He didn't force us to be saved. We get to choose. So if someone wants to worship Allah, or someone wants to worship, God without bringing Jesus in the equation, that's their right to do. God has given us the ability to choose because he wants us to choose him. So I think they should be able to do that. But what we see here is an attempt to unify all religions, to start shedding aside the things that make us exclusive. Maybe lowering Jesus a little bit. Let's not talk about him so much because that causes problems. Let's not talk about some of our doctrinal issues. Let's just all try to get along. Can you see prophecy in this? Can you see the one world government? We know the Antichrist is going to come on the scene at some point, and he's going to cause peace with the Jews. Now, an element of that peace is going to have to be religious because the Jews are allowed to build their temple again. And so there's going to be some religion in this. And I just wonder if this whole Abrahamic family house is one more step toward that. Just one more step to let's try to bring religions all in there together, and let's shut off the really important things of our religion, especially Christianity. Let's get rid of, the whole Jesus thing. We can't have that anymore because he's so exclusive and, hateful and everything because you only got to come through him. And let's just get rid of all. Let's kind of move together and accept everything and just try to live in harmony and tolerance. And it's sad that I even see that even in the evangelical world, it seems like we're starting to do that. Let's not stand on what we believe. Let's just accept all the world. And I think a lot of the woke culture comes along with that, right? Let's just buy into social justice and all that, things that aren't necessarily biblical, not in the way that it comes across today anyway. So what does this mean for us? I think we should consider toleration as a good thing. I mean, you don't want to go and kill your neighbor because they go to a mosque. That's not right. God gives us the choice. But when we tolerate something, it is not accepting it as authentic. There is a big difference there. If I have someone in my life who is not a believer, I cannot say, oh, that's good for you, but I have my own beliefs. No, there is one truth. And it cannot be Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. They can't all be true. If any of them is true, it can only be one because they don't fit together. And obviously, I believe that Christianity is true, which leads me to another practical application of this for us, and that is that we need to know what we believe. We need to be able to see these things when they're coming. We need to be able to know what we believe and why we believe it so we don't buy into this kind of stuff. Where we know, well, wait a minute here, there's some things about what we believe that we can discuss, we can argue about, but there's some places we can't stop. When God said evangelize, Jesus said to go out and share the gospel, evangelize, we have to do that. And apparently this whole thing is kind of saying, no, you can't go out and share. We have to share. We have to know what we believe. We have to understand if we don't know what we believe, we're going to be taken in by all of this mishmash and melding together of religions into the one world religion that apparently is going to happen at some time. So we need to know what we believe. But my opinion on this whole thing is just one more chess piece that is getting put into place for prophecy, and as we have it in the Bible, to actually come to happen. So I find that interesting. I find it captivating. I read these things and I'm like, wow, what in the world? It's amazing. So there you go. That's it for today. If you haven't subscribed already to my channel, I want you to encourage you to do it. Hit the like button there if you like this. And hopefully I get to see you next time.